You have to stay detached from the money no matter what level of the game you're at. I'm sure you've probably heard about this before. If you do any kind of, you watch any kind of mindset YouTube videos or whatever, you've probably heard of this concept. But I'm going to explain why it's so tricky and how you can actually end up getting caught up in it. Sorry if I look chopped, bro. I woke up like an hour ago. It's like 6 in the morning right now. So I'm sure I look chopped as fuck. But anyways, so I was always a big proponent of detaching from the money, right? Especially what you physically have and operating in a different mental level. You'll hear guys talk about this all the time, and I've preached this a lot on this channel before. But you need to um, you need to mentally be at the level of the game that you want before you can physically be at it, right? So let's say you want to make 100K per month, for example. Far before you're ever actually making 100K per month, in your head, you have to be the 100K per month guy. So you have to be taking the actions that you would be if you were making 100K per month. You need to walk like it. You need to talk like it. You have to literally 110% act like you're making 100K per month. In my case, for example, before I made any money, I would never tell people what I'm making. I didn't want to. Why? Partially because, well, I just don't want people knowing how much I'm making, but also, if I told somebody I was making $0, that's reinforcing the $0 identity. And I'm not actually making $0, right? I was making 100K mentally, right? And the truth is however much money you're actually making is not physically, it's mentally. Everything operates at a mental level, right? The plane of mental is the plane of cause, and the plane of physical is the plane of effect, right? So you have cause and effect. You have to change the cause in order to get the effect. So you can't obviously change the effect to get the cause, right? So people, like, for whatever reason, right? Like, people are going to ask you how much you make, and I always just never said anything because what they could comprehend, because people can't comprehend what I'm saying right now, right? Your fucking average Joe, your bot, not even a bot, bro, just your average person, your average friend. If you're trying to sit here and tell them that what you're actually making, like the number you're actually making isn't physically real, they're gonna be like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're actually, like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? And obviously it doesn't matter what their opinion is, but it just, in daily conversation, people are just like, dude, this guy's a fucking weirdo. Like, it just causes more problems than it solves anything, right? So I just would not tell anybody what I'm making, okay? And this was also when I was broke, because if I told somebody I was making 100K per month and my bank account had 20 fucking dollars in it, they're like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But at the same time, this is the exact reason I was able to I made like 160K in Q4. That's the exact reason, right? Because I was operating in a different mental space than I was physically at, right? Now, the problem is, for me, it wasn't hard to do this when I was broke, right? It was easy to operate at a different level when I was broke. Now, once you get some money, I actually think it becomes harder. So, right, like, I've pretty much been at the 50K per month mark, right? I did 55 in October. I did like 63, I think, in November. And I did like 43 in December, okay? But now that I got money, right, like, I'm making a business bank account. I'm talking to the accountant guy. I'm getting my new credit card. I'm not buying a car, but I applied for a car loan. I went and looked at some cars. I'm gonna get an apartment. Everything that I'm saying right now requires you to tell somebody else your monthly income, which for me was whatever, 25K a month, right? That's profit. I did 50K a month in revenue. So now I have to like repeatedly tell myself that I'm making 20 to 25K, right? Which I understand, dude. For all these other people and everybody I'm listing, yes, they need to understand what you're actually making, like what you're physically making. But the truth is that's not what you're mentally making. And when you sit there and like reinforce it and keep talking about it, it starts to stick, bro. And like I was just recently, like I feel like I got stuck in the trap of operating from a 50K per month level. Like that's like where my mental was. And that was because I kept telling all these people, yes, I'm making 50K a month. Yes, this is how much I'm making. Blah, 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 blah. Like even the homeboys, sometimes I'd tell them, right? And it's like, I wasn't being as quiet as I was before, I would say. And I think that's the biggest fuck up. Like you shouldn't really talk about how much money you're making, bro, because, okay, let's say your goal is to make 100K per month, right? And you're mentally operating there, and then eventually reality catches up, and now you're making 100K per month. Is that really it? Like, do you just really want to make 100K per month? Or do you want to now hit the next milestone, 200, 500, an M a month? Then you want to go to 100K a day. You see what I'm saying? It's never going to stop. And if it does, you got complacent and fucking lazy, to be honest, right? Like, you should always be chasing and striving to achieve something. So, like, once you finally achieve the identity that you were mentally operating at for so long, now you need to start operating at the new identity, right? Like, you need to scale. You got to move up. And it can become difficult when a lot of things around you require you to talk about how much you're making, but that's not really how much you're making. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get attached to the physical number. Like, this is like a very big thing. Like, bro, when I had negative money in my fucking account, I was completely detached from the number. Yet now that I have 5 figures in my account, I've become more attached to the number. It's honestly easier when you're broke to be detached from the money. I swear to God it is. Like, because you don't have anything. You have like nothing to lose. Like, if you see the number start dwindling in your account when you got money, it's just like it's not a problem. It's just like another thing you have to learn, right? It's like another thing you learn at another level of the game. Because when you're broke, that's one level of the game. Now you got money, that's another level of the game, right? And so you kind of just jump through these hurdles and stuff. But the reality is no matter what level of the game you're at, don't ever align yourself with how much money you're physically making, right? Because mentally you should be at a different level, unless you just gave up or something, right? Or, maybe let's say you're done being an entrepreneur. You made all the money you want. That's fine, but now you need to mentally align yourself with the next goal that you have in mind, not with a number mark of being an entrepreneur, right? Don't keep telling yourself you're a 100K entrepreneur if you're trying to be a fucking pro football player. No, you're a pro football player now. You might not physically be a pro football player, but that's where your mind is, and that's where you're eventually going to catch up to. Do you see how it kind of like, you have to constantly be shifting where your mental's at, and that's why you can never get attached to the things that you physically have, right? And I think this becomes more difficult the more money and shit you start to make, because you start to level up, and then you eventually, you actually hit that identity that you wanted to operate at so bad, and then you have to shift and you have to change, right? And when you're broke to then you don't go through that shift and that change. I guess now I've recently went through that shift and that change, right? And so, it's just kind of a new thing you have to learn. But a very important thing is that, at the end of the day, dude, there's people I'm sure who work 2 hours a day and are far more successful than you working your fucking 12 and me working my 12 hours a day. Why? Because they just operate from a better mental space, right? So also, you need to invest a lot into the way you think and all that by reading books and watching podcasts and taking notes and meditation and doing all these other things. That counts as work, bro. Don't think you just need to do the work. I have so much fucking work now. There's so many things I can do that I could just be working 16 hours straight every day. But the honest to God, the truth is that's not gonna fucking get me to where I want to go. And it sounds counterintuitive almost, right? You need to do more work to make more money. I honestly do not think that's fucking true. You need to pull the right levers to make more money, and you won't know the right levers to pull unless you're operating from the right mental space, right? Like, when I started making a bunch of money, okay, so a little bit of money, it's not a bunch of money. Sorry, excuse my nose, it's a little sniffly. Fuck, dude, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. When I first started making a little bit of money, I was actually working less. I'm like, dude, what the fuck you talk? Like, I was literally working less. Like, I was still grinding, but I'm telling you, I was working less. I had less work to do. I was more focused on one thing, and I was more focused on my mindset. I was reading a lot more. That was the big thing. I was reading like a lot every day, like 10 plus pages every day. And that was when I broke out because I had these mental barriers that I started breaking by learning and growing the mindset. Yes, you still need to work, okay? But you also need to work on your mindset. If you just do the work, you will not fucking be successful. Like, mindset is honestly more important than the work. You can't have, it's like a yin and yang. You can't have success without either of them, but you have to have both of them to be successful. And mindset's probably the bigger portion of what you actually end up needing. So I don't know how long this video has been, but anyways, just don't get attached to what you physically have ever. Like, ever. You need to be operating from a different place mentally, because the moment you get attached to something physically, you start to slow yourself down and you just shoot yourself in the foot. So yeah, peace out.